Hello there everybody, I'm Hater, and welcome back to another build video, where we're going to be making a Voidwalker build that will not only be able to print endless amounts of super energy, but allow us to live out the Warlock main fantasy of starring in a Michael Bay film with the amount of explosions that will be going on. Before we get into the build though guys, as always, if you use the build and you found this video helpful, then leave a like, comment any build ideas for the future, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so that you'll always be up to date when a new build video goes out. But something to quickly understand is that sometime around when Witch Queen drops in February, the big ol' bungo is going to drop a reworked Void subclasses called Void 3.0. This will make our Void subclasses now work similar to how Stasis are, and a lot of what we'll be focusing on in this video will be different. And then I'll still be covering the subclasses when they come out. I just feel it's important to say it now and not deal with comments that are like, yo, this ain't my Void 3.0 build, what the heck, or something like that in the future. I don't know. But anyways, in the Top Tree subclass for Voidwalkers, we're going to be taking advantage of a few things for the mods of the build. The first one being Chaos Accelerant, allowing us to hold the grenade button down to overcharge it. This will buff both the grenade's damage and range. Then the other one, which I really hope gets turned into an aspect or fragment, is Bloom, allowing all of our abilities, grenade, melee, and super, to make enemies explode on death. These two abilities combined allow us to focus the build around elemental wells, giving us ability energy and then some when they're picked up. Specifically for the ones we'll be using in the build, we're going to use what I like to call the Holy Trinity of grenade energy, which is just a combination of 3 elemental well mods, the first one being Explosive Well Maker, so that whenever we get a multi-kill from explosive damage, it creates a solar well. However, a solar well by itself isn't actually going to be that useful for a non-solar subclass. So to make it do something, we're going to use the second mod, Well of Ordnance, to make the solar well give right around 15% of our grenade energy back. Then to make this even better, we can add the mod Bountiful Wells on top of it so that our Explosive Well Maker will create 1 extra well, thus creating 2 solar wells that give us right around 30% of our grenade back. At this point, for the last 2 slots in the build, you can pretty much use whatever you want. But if I could give a recommendation, you could either use Elemental Charge so that your solar wells will also give you stacks of charge with light, or you can use Taking Charge so that Orbs of Power give you stacks of charge with light. Then to use those stacks, you could pretty much use whatever charge with light mod that basically fits whatever need you have. For more grenade energy, you could slap on a Firepower. For protection and endgame content, you could throw on a Protective Light. And if you want super energy, you could slap on an Energy Converter. These are just some of the great mods that we have as options for the build. However, there is still one mod that we're going to be using that is basically mandatory for this build, and that's going to be Ashes to Assets in our solar helmet. Because remember, this is a grenade focused build, so whenever we do get kills with our grenade, and it's going to happen a lot, it's going to give us a lot of super energy, thus feeding into our Warlock dream of dunking like LeBron James and creating more explosions than an entire Michael Bay film. And for all the new and returning players that ask me about the mods, more specifically where to get them, you want to make sure that you have the Splicer Servitor, the War Table, and the Wayfinder's Compass unlocked in the helm. All 3 of these are going to contain majority of the Elemental Well mods. As for a lot of the Charge with Light mods, you're going to want to go to the tower and check HaterTheOne every single day, because she will be randomly selling a different mod every single day. And then once Witch Queen drops, I'm pretty confident that all of the Elemental Well mods of the previous seasons are going to get added to her pool. So always remember to load into the tower at least once a day to see what she's selling. Next up is gonna be exotics, and oh boy, exotic armor. Because usually for most of the builds I talk about on this channel, 1 or 2 exotics are usually going to be the main focus of the build, and then some other ones become options. For Voidwalker specifically, there is clearly bungo favoritism, clocking in at a whopping 6 exotics total. And all of them can be considered the main exotic for the build except for 2. That just shows how much love and attention Bungie really just gives to the Voidwalkers. But for the first one, and my personal favorite, is gonna be the exotic helmet Nezarec Sin, giving us ability energy to all of our abilities, including super, whenever we get kills with anything that is considered void. Keyword there being anything considered void, because not only will our abilities proc Nezarec Sin, but any void energy weapon we use also will proc its perk. Meaning that this exotic really pairs well with a kinetic weapon that is void energy or AoE weapons that do void damage. And I can honestly go on for another 10 minutes or more recommending void weapons. Instead, I'm just gonna list some of my favorite ones that I recommend you look out for. The first one, and probably my favorite one, is gonna be the Deafening Whisper Grenade Launcher. And I use this weapon a lot because it is the only waveframe grenade launcher in the game that is also void. When combined with perks like Lead from Gold and Autoloading Holster, or even Ambitious Assassin and Wellspring, you can shoot this thing into a crowd of red healths and come out with 20 seconds of Abyssal Extractors. It's insane. For 2 and 3 specifically, I would recommend you look for the Grid Skipper or the Shayura's Wrath, because both of them can roll the new Adrenaline Junkie, which paired with a grenade-focused build will allow you to have almost 33% more damage at all times. For this season specifically, for number 4, we can use the Reckless Oracle from Garden of Salvation with Autoloading and Demolitionist, because combined with Anti-Barrier Auto Rifle, this thing will shred right through anti-barriers because it's a rapid-fire frame auto rifle. And then finally, number 5 is everyone's favorite exotic bow, the Lemonarch, because overload bow and AoE void damage, why not? And as I stated before, those are just my favorite weapons I like to use. If you guys do want a dedicated video for something like that, then let me know in the comments. For the next exotic, we could also use some of the weapons on the list for the Verity's Brow Exotic Helmet, so that whenever we do get kills with them and they're matching our subclass type, it's gonna give us a stack of death throws, increasing our grenade damage and grenade regen, stacking all the way up to 100% at 5 stacks. This exotic will play more towards the grenade damage fantasy instead of the overall ability regen, but if we get something like Oppressive Darkness again, which adds a weaken effect after hitting an enemy with void damage, then oh lord have mercy on my soul, it's gonna be a void bath. You like what I did there? No? Okay. Next exotic is gonna be the Gambler Addict, or Esoteric's favorite, which is the Contraverse Hold. And funny enough, this exotic is actually going to get reworked in the 30th anniversary so that you don't actually get to gamble with it, because its exotic perk basically gives you grenade energy back whenever you use your overcharged grenade. And instead of relying on RNG to get that 1 to 4 second time frame for it, it's now going to be a flat 1.75, making it more consistent. Also meaning you can't blame RNG on not getting your grenade back. For the 4th exotic, man, this list is getting long, it's gonna be the Mantle of Battle Harmony, turning all of our weapon kills that match our subclass into super energy. The reason I bring this exotic up specifically is because in the TWAB, released on the 18th of November, the Big B changed how gaining super energy works. Instead of having a flat cooldown that gets enhanced by getting kills and picking up orbs, super cooldowns are going to be separated into tiers based on passive regeneration and damage-based regeneration. For the Nova Bomb, it's gonna sit inside the dead center of the list at tier 3, which when the 30th anniversary rolls out, I believe with the right loadout, Mantle of Battle Harmony will be much more potent than it is now. And finally, now for the other 2 exotics that are worth noting as options and would feel wrong leaving out if I don't mention them, are both the Nothing Manacles and the Skull of Dire Ahamkara. Both of these exotics are at least worth talking about because they are 1 buff away from actually being really good. For Nothing Manacles, its perk gives a second charge of the Scatter Grenade and quote-unquote buffs the tracking on its projectiles. Then Skull of Dire Ahamkara gives super energy back up to 50% based on how many enemies die to the Nova Bomb. If both of these received buffs like the tracking on the scatter grenades or give grenade energy back based on hits for Nothing Manacles and reduce the amount of enemies needed to get that 50% super for Skull of Dire Ahamkara, they would be extremely good options. I don't know, the best thing to do in my opinion is to try them out and see how they work for you. Thus concluding the entire list of exotic armor we can talk about. To help out some of the new players and some of the people who don't understand mods, let's move over to my Warlock and give a demonstration on what the build could look like. And for my version of the build, I'm going to be using Nezarec Sin, and it's going to be solar. In here, you're going to be putting both of your ashes to assets, and I also put Explosive Wellmaker here. In my arms, they're going to be solar, and I'm running both champion mods that I want to use and Bountiful Wells. For my chest piece, I have this as any element of my choosing, and this is where I'm going to be putting either Elemental Charge or Taking Charge with some resist mods. For the boots, because I plan on taking this into endgame content, I'm going to have it as Void and use Protective Light in here. Then I'm going to add Better Already, so picking up orbs will instantly regain my health, and run a Scav of choice. If I wanted to run Energy Converter in this slot, then I would just reduce the 4-cost recovery and trade Protective Light out for it. And then finally, over at my Bond, I'm going to be having this as solar so I can put Well of Ordnance inside it, and then I have enough space to put any combination of artifact mods I choose. Either way guys, that's actually going to be the build for the video. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments and I will get to them as fast as I can. I had a lot of fun putting this build together and I hope I helped you guys out. But anyways, I'm going to be catching you guys in the next build video. Bye bye.